Good evening everyone, and welcome to, well, what is a beautiful evening in CloD. Purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how I get around the circuit. Just so those of you who might still be having trouble or interpreting what some of the hints and tips are being said to you actually look like in the air, and just give you a visual feel of what to look for and how a good approach looks, then, well, hopefully I'll be able to present you with one. So here we are, we're in a Spitfire Mk.Ia 100 octane. Most of what I'm going to tell you can be directly translated to the other Spits, with subtle differences of course for the two pitch propeller variants, but in this case, you know, the speeds are going to be similar, the throttle settings are going to be similar, and the general attitude of the plane, because that's the most important thing. That's what you're going to be looking for, is how the aircraft sits in the air, its orientation relative to the ground, and the airspeeds. So let's open the cockpit, because RAF fighters always took off and landed with cockpit open for a quick escape in the event of an emergency. We're going to switch on our fuel down here. Fuel is on. Going to make sure the throttle is fractionally open and start ignition. And there we go, we're running. Okay, a little too much throttle there, she's rolling forward. Let's hit on the brakes. Slow down, you bugger. Okay, brakes obviously not working today for some reason. There we go. Right, so the next thing to ensure is our radiator is full open. Our temps are climbing up. Alright, let's start heading out to the runway. We can throttle up to about 23% to get rolling, or a little less. We don't have to worry about it. It'll just help the engine heat up a little bit quicker while we get to our takeoff position. If you go above 24, 25%, you'll find it gets very, very uncomfortable. Lots of shaking, rattling, corruption, nastiness, not good. So here we go. Fortunately, we are very close to the threshold, the runway we want to be on. We can tell which runway we want to be on because those boards handily out there are displaying the requisite runway and its best heading into wind. If you're seeing the back of the boards, you'll be trying to take off downwind. So if the boards are yellow painted, or as here, red and white, we know that at least some component of the wind is actually blowing towards our nose, and we want to take off facing into wind because we need all the help we can get getting off the ground. And any airflow over the wind, being that from the aircraft powering itself forward or even the wind itself, will help in that regard. So here we go. Quick to test the controls. Yep, aileron's working, elevator's working, rudder is working. Good show. What I'm going to do is open to about half throttle. I'm going to feed in some right rudder to compensate, and a little bit of right aileron because the wing is going on a dip with the torque. And then once we are rolling at a little bit of speed, I'm going to ease the stick from neutral. I'm holding it back at the moment to keep the tail on the ground, which is a good thing. We don't want to bounce and get a prop strike, so tail back for the initial part of the run. You'll see as we get some speed up, I'll bring the throttle forward and the stick to neutral, and then again compensate with more right rudder as necessary to keep the aircraft tracking straight. And then once we've got a good speed up, I'll just breathe really on on the stick, bringing it rearwards, and hopefully it will translate us into a gentle climb out. So here we go, 50% throttle. So the nose starting to swing left a bit, correcting a bit of rudder, and again you're rubbing it on here, a little bit of right stick. Okay, getting going now, stick forward to neutral, which is about there. Start dancing with the rudder. Okay, you see the nose is just picking up, dropping over all on its own. There we've got good flying speed, so just gently back on the stick, and up she comes, and we're over. It's as simple as that. Okay, once As the gear is up, let's bring a canopy closed and reduce our prop to, I tend to bring it back to 80 because at the moment I'm running on buttons for adjusting my propeller pitch. My axis failed a couple of weeks ago, but usually I come back to 83 or 84%, whatever gives you 2800 RPM. There we are. Nice gentle climb out. You can see the angle here. We don't really need much. You get yourself up to about 150 to 170 miles an hour, and then you can engage your climb out fully. Wouldn't recommend climbing too steeply from takeoff. You risk a stall, and you'll be wallowing around. It will be uncomfortable. So that is takeoff. Fairly undramatic and quite satisfying when you get it right. So let's just do a quick beat up. I don't want to jump straight into a circuit because it looks a bit too pat. Let's have a look at a circuit from a slightly unusual kind of level. Okay, let's just work our way out a bit. I'll pretend I'm sort of returning from a sortie and just entering the airfield at a typical height. You can see we're already at 2,000 feet. Okay, so I'm going to pretend I've come back from a successful sortie. Coming across the airfield. Now you can come in and land straight off the bat if you want to, but I always recommend a quick overfly just to visually clear the field and make sure none of your teammates have spread themselves or are obstructing the wrong way at all. So we're coming in, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to cut the throttle. I'm going to enter short downwind here, so I can see I'm at 2,000 feet, that's a little bit high. It's not too bad. I've cut the power, coming round. Sun's a bit blinding, but we can see airspeed is 240, so I'm going to have to level out a bit here, lower the speed. One way you can lower speed is to side slip, so simply done. Let's roll right but rudder left. You can see speed coming off very quickly there, so we'll just come there. We're down below 180, I can lower the gear. That's good. Field in sight. Okay, so I'm turning onto my base leg now. Basically in the circuit coming into land you don't want to get below about 115, 110 indicated, so you can see I'm still a little fast here, but that's below flap speed, so flaps down, a little jolt there as the trim change. I've got a little bit of throttle on just to keep ticking over. Speed's coming down nicely. I'm going to put a little more on just so it doesn't come down too far. We're about the 120 mark. So looking quite nice. Gear is down in green, flaps are down. Okay, I'm starting to trim a little here because the nose is starting to want to drop with the stick in neutral, so to make my life easier, I'm just elevator up trim a bit more. It's coming over the threshold here. I'm going to carry the speed a little further than I should and then cut now. Now as you cut, the nose will want to drop, so trim it, keep trimming, keep trimming, keep trimming, and we want to hold the aircraft off. We don't want to put her down too soon. So you can see she's still floating down the runway, and I'm actually trying not to make a land, so I'm going to try and get the nose up, keep the nose up in the 3-point attitude and down. Okay, not quite 3 points. I held her off a little too high and she touched down on the left wheels first. I should have used a bit more right rudder there just to pick that wing up. It's very important that you don't try and pick a wing up with aileron at low speed, because all you're doing is creating more lift on the wing you're trying to pick up. That creates more drag, which is more likely to stall the wing. So you actually want to use a bit of rudder. It sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, it's the best way to do it. And there you go, we're around the circuit, we're done, we're landed. Let's get the flaps away. In the old days in the RAF you find a shilling for taxiing with your flaps down, so now we're pulling off the runway. I should have opened my canopy, that was a bit naughty, but there you go. We're down. you have any further questions, then please by all means leave them in the comments below and I'll answer them as soon as I'm able. Otherwise, happy flying and of course happy landings.